Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and welcome back to yet another Luna Office Hours. It's bright and early where we are over here in California, but thankfully, even though we're in kind of a weird time of social distancing and kind of all working remotely, I am not here alone yet again. I'm joined by all of my friends, Tom and Matt. How you guys doing this morning or
Hello.
Evening?
Pretty good.
Afternoon.
How you doing, Ben?
It's still sunny.
Yeah. Well, not only so today it's Luna's been out for now. Is it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Yeah, it's like 2 and a bit. Not even a full 3 days yet. But today is not only Luna's second day of birth. It's Tom's birthday. Everybody in the chat say happy birthday, Tom.
Oh, happy
Thank
birthday,
you,
Tom.
guys. How did you know? I was getting away with it.
Nope, absolutely not, man.
Oh, bless you all. Thanks so much.
Dude. Well, Tom, thank you for spending your birthday with us, man.
Well, I wasn't going anywhere else, my bro.
It's like you didn't really have any other options. I understand, but
I'm doing it because I love it.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. Really appreciate it, man. And hopefully this isn't your guys' first time checking out Office Hours, but if it is, basically what we're doing is we've just released Luna. There's a bunch of really great Luna Basics videos that Matt down there put together. They're packed with information, keyboard shortcuts, and just all the essential information to kind of get up and running. So what we wanted to do with these office hours is kind of take you guys a step further and show you, now that you've got Luna downloaded, hopefully up and running, kind of starting to play around with it. We want to show you guys some of the possibilities and some of the cool stuff that Luna is able to do. And so we've seen a couple demos about kind of producing tracks from scratch, how to record audio and how to kind of get stuff into the box. But following what we were doing yesterday, later in the day, we had Fab come on and do a whole mixing session inside of Luna. I know that was probably very late for some of you folks over in Europe. So Tom has actually prepared another mixing session that we're going to mix from scratch, and we'll kind of all mix it together. So if you guys in the chat, if there's anything specific that you want to see, especially around mixing or Neve summing or the tape effects, or just any questions, type them in the chat. We're kind of there watching it. I've got questions coming in nonstop, so feel free to put suggestions, questions, anything like that. And we will do our best to get to as many of those as we possibly can. But also, before we get going, just know that this is one of 4 office hours that we have scheduled for today, if you're over here on this side of the pond. So we're live right now. We're going to go for about an hour. Then we're coming back at 11 PST, where we're just going to do nothing but question and answers. So if we don't get to your question in this session, we'll do it in the next one, I promise. And then at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m.?
1 p.m.
1 p.m., yeah. 1 p.m. is a really special session. We're going to be joined by Vance Powell and Dave Cobb, who are phoning in from Nashville. And they're going to walk us through a mixing session of Rival Sons. They helped us prepare the sound examples to show off the Neve summing, and we got a song from a Grammy-winning band to help demonstrate that. So no big deal. That's going to be really fun to kind of see how Vance, not only see how he used it, but also talk to those guys who are really used to analog recording workflows, and just kind of hear how Luna matched their expectations or kind of surprised them in different ways. And then finally at 4 p.m. PST, we're going to be doing an instrument demo with Dave LeBolt. Some of you, hopefully you've all seen the tech talk that him and I did together, but we're going to go even further. We're going to kind of show some more of the sound design possibilities inside of Shape and with the Mini Moog. And of course, I just want to spend like 20 minutes of him playing Revel. I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm cool with just like a piano concert for the afternoon.
Sounds good. Just get a drink, kick back, listen to Dave play.
Exactly. Yeah, I might not talk very much in that one.
Sounds relaxing.
It does, right? Nice. Well, cool. So, Tom, do you want to share your screen and kind of give us an overview of what we're looking at here?
Let's get into it. So I'm just going to share the Luna screen here. Everyone can see that, I hope.
Yep.
Cool beans. So this is a track we did actually a couple of years ago now. There's an Apollo demo with the folks from the Undertones band, we call them. So we've got Ash Sohn, the session drummer, playing drums on this. Ash is a friend of mine, a fantastic drummer. He was Trevor Horn's studio drummer. So shout out to Ash. He's on Instagram and stuff if you want to go say hi to him. He uses Apollos in his studio. So he came along to a studio near me, actually, in the UK, and we've recorded this with him playing kit. So what you see here in red is all of the drum stuff that I took. So that's all going through an Apollo X16, actually, off the console in the studio with some stuff getting printed in, like some parallels. And there's actually the real EMT plate that I printed, but I'll probably delete that and replace with the UAD EMT. We'll have a check out of that as we go through. Nice. Moving down, we've got bass in blue here, and that's played by Rocco Palladino. So amazing UK young bass player. Rocco's dude. Go check him out online as well, and check out all the stuff he's doing with Tom Misch and Yosef Days, the drummer, which we were talking about earlier. It's just completely fire music. So really worth going to see those guys. And all these guys are using, Apollo in some way. And then we've got piano here recorded by Jack Duxbury. He's been piano player for James Bay, the musician. So Jack's playing keys on there. It's a Yamaha grand piano that I recorded with a pair of Sherps mics, for example. Nice. There's a Wurlitzer, which actually, this is probably one of the coolest Whirlies I've heard, other than the one that comes in Shape, right? Or the retro keys that are in Shape. But the Whirly is modified with a tube output stage. What? And a tube driven tremolo. So the tremolo that you hear on this Wurlitzer, in fact, I'll just solo it while we're talking about it.
Let's hear that.
This is all off the Wurlitzer itself, all tube trem.
Ooh, boy, that is good. And then that's with no effects on it?
I think when I stemmed this off from the session, I've left the tiny Galaxy tape echo on it, which is just in mono, like creating a bit of splash on it.
You can hear that, just that little bit of the reverb and slap take on it.
Yeah, it'll pop through. You just hear it. Adds sustain really, but it's quite a subtle effect.
Oh, but
that's a really nice sounding thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, man. And then we actually overdubbed a part, which is an organ, which Jack played again. But this, I think it's just off a Nord, for example. But you could very easily, as we showed yesterday with Shape, if you were writing, you could be using our retro key stuff, that's all the vintage key sounds in Shape, just to put this stuff into Luna. So that's there. And then a couple of guitar tracks, which interestingly, one of them was recorded with a mic in an ISO booth. This one, which is playing chords. And then this other guitar, which is more of a percussive type thing, that's actually Ox. So you've got Ox delay on there, and it's already panned off a bit. I just record it like that. So for me, in the mix, I just found I can't tell really between Ox or.
So did you print it, so you printed out of Ox? You'd set the panning and everything like that inside of Ox, or is that from the stem?
Sometimes that's actually the panning's probably from the stem. Yeah. But so I basically kind of like balanced those guitars left and right in the mix and just created the stem with that. Nice. But I will often sort of use the delays and reverbs just in Ox and just record it completely in, done like that. Yeah. I just find when you get to mixing, if it's already there and you're not complaining about it, then ultimately why not?
It's such a good way to do it, and that's the I've found myself doing the same thing. Like, especially if you're gonna do I know we're supposed to talk about Luna right now, but man, the Ox, like, for being able to record guitar tracks, you bring it in the stereo, kind of already polished up, like it's a finished mixed sounding guitar sound. You can do some really cool stuff, especially for doubles, where have the mics kind of panned a little, leaning maybe a little bit to the right with a 57 and then something else, and then switch it around for the second take, and you get that left-right difference being built up in the raw track.
Yeah, which going back to Luna then is a bit like what Fab was showing last night when he's doubling up the Moog and having one left and right. And because there's that organicness in the sound, it's getting wider. I often do that with tracking, whether it's moving mics or moving backing vocalists around a stereo mic, for example. Like in this, even we did hand claps and stuff, and we did exactly that. We would like do claps and move people around the microphones to kind of get changing image and stuff in the claps. Just while I'm recording, right? I love that, whether it's doing it in Luna or doing it up front or in Ox or whatever.
Hell yeah.
So the two guitars are played by Lee and Pete, you know, great guitar guys, Lee Anderson and Pete Honore, and then vocals sung by Meg Birch. Meg crushed this. So these are untuned just as we track them in, maybe a tiny bit of EQ.
I rope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me. I just wanna be close to you.
Obviously vibey and distorted in a cool way, but that was all done in unison, like tracked through and committed. So effectively what we're starting with is like what you would get if you were tracking into Luna as you've finished your recording in ARM mode, and then we want to look at getting a mix going, right?
Yep.
So there's some harmonies, there's a couple of percussion tracks, mostly just a tambourine here with some good spill on it, which is what makes it sound real, right?
Was it played by a human as well?
Yeah, it's Ash the drummer. Yeah, and actually this is the one that I joked with him about, and I told you the story the other day. But you see this whole percussion stem, even though that's been bounced out, it actually looks like that in my session. There isn't a single note that he played out of pocket, and he was checking his phone while he was doing this, and I was just, I was literally I was just like almost shouting through the control room window, laughing at him, like, what is this inhuman ability to like
dude, I can't
stay in pocket?
It's like, how do you do that?
Tapping your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
He's been doing it a long time, bless him. So yeah, I guess I'll play a little bit of the track from the top, and then we'll stop and we'll get into some stuff.
Yeah.
You can see the mixer is empty.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet dream, telling me lies when the truth was clear, think he knew what I wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me. I just wanna be close to you.
There you go. I think we get into it. We've not got long. It's like a turbo mix-up, right?
Well, one thing I wanted to point out to people as we get started, notice where Tom's meters are at and how beautifully gain staged this thing is. Like, all together, faders at 0, and like you're hitting on the master like maybe 3 at tops. But like you're in that real good sweet spot, and it's super important, especially, it's important especially when you're working with hardware. But the cool thing about UAD plugins is that they so perfectly emulate how the hardware works. Even the gain staging really it matters. Like how hard you come into an LA2A when it's the UAD plugin matters just as much as if you were sending to a hardware one. So being at the right spot, if you come in 0 dBFS, you're already overloading it and kind of overdoing it. So giving yourself this extra headroom, this breathing room, really gives you the ability to get in there and tweak after the fact.
Defo. I mean, I've done a bit of that already. I would actually maybe be tempted to drop it like another 3 dB on everything, but just to show people, if you selected all those drums, for example, we go into the gain there, hit -3, and I'm going to knock them all down. And this is actually the quickest way. I'm sure you do the same thing, Ben, but to start a session, if I get sent something to mix, is to basically get all the tracks up and listen to a balance of it, at least somehow.
Yep.
And then see what your headroom's like, and if you need to go in there and effectively clip gain or drop the levels of all the clips down to give you that headroom, so that your faders can be mine are all at 0, and I'd like to keep them as close to that as I can, really. Not that I'm against moving faders, like I don't care really where they are and how it looks, but you're right on keeping the headroom there. Nice. That's cool. I figure what we'll do is start with the vocal, only because this has been something I've been doing lately and I quite like it. And so I'm not going to do it completely out of context. So I'll put in the piano and the bass, and maybe, in fact, I'll leave the drums out effectively, and the solos and stuff, just because I know there's some frequencies in that lead vocal that I'd like to EQ, and we can look at that just straight away.
Yeah.
There we go.
She was a Jezebel.
So, I'm a big fan of this
queen,
EQ that we
living
have.
a life like a bad sweet dream, telling me
good
lies when
default.
the truth was clear. Think he knew
It's 'cause
what
it's
I
just
wanted
so
to hear.
positive.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escaping me. I
There's
just
actually there's one a little higher as well. So I'm just going to get in and get rid of this stuff first, I think.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet
Oh, what am I
dream.
doing? It's on the wrong track. Classic schoolboy.
We've all done that.
Yeah.
She was a Jezebel.
I'm in the same place I wanted to be.
queen, living a life like a
Good
bad
guess.
sweet dream, telling me lies when the
Yeah,
truth
so this
was
stuff-
clear. Think he knew what I wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel
then there's
on
maybe
fire,
some- a
walking
little
the
bit lower.
tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is
Here we
where
go.
I'm at. There's no escaping me. I just wanna be close to
I'll
you.
probably DS the top as well because it's a little crispy for me, but just to give you an AB on the Cambridge there. What I love about this EQ is it does what it looks like it's doing.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet dream.
Just takes
telling
out some of that stuff. Then we've got another way we can deal with stuff that, you're not particularly loving in the tone, which is the tape. And I like just Oxide, the built-in tape is great for this. We just very quickly add it to that vocal, and we'll crank the saturation and see where we end up.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet dream, telling me lies when the truth was clear. Think he knew what I wanted to hear, spinning around like
Right,
a
so
wheel
that
on
word, if we get to spinning around, right?
Yep.
wanted to hear, spinning
So
around
here.
like a wheel on fire.
With this off.
Walking- wanted to hear, spinning
It's quite
around like
whistly.
wanted to hear, spinning around
Still
like
whistly, but it's not as noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do a bit more. So I'm going to actually throw in an audio units plugin, and you see how quick I'm searching for stuff. Pro, let's get this Pro DS up because why not? We can now, right? Let's
Yep.
go with it.
Well, and it's funny too because this is having the search thing. I'm sure for people at home we're going blazingly fast, but that's kind of the idea is that Luna makes all this stuff so much faster and easier. Like throwing tape, adding inserts, everything like this is one click, maybe a few keystrokes, and boom, there you have it.
Yeah, I hope today that was what we could show really is like how fast you could potentially get going to do a mix, because speed is useful because you stop your ears getting tired,
wanted to hear, spinning
She's all
around
here in
like
this
a wheel
range,
on
so-
fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway.
Probably not that much,
Fatal
but-
attraction is where I'm at. There's no escaping me.
That's fine. That, in the context of the full track when it's going, that would be good. I'm a big sucker for this on lead vocals right now because I don't want it to be dark or squashed in the top end too much. So we'll go with a little bit of this as well.
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escaping me. I just wanna be close to
It's nice
you.
and forwards, right?
Yeah, it's super good.
So let's quickly, again, using these modifiers that we were talking about yesterday, Ben, which I think, they're quite new for some people that aren't used to console. The fact that we can bypass stuff really quickly just to see what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is
She's like super up front and lifted up in the image a bit, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a good spot, and I love that kind of starting them. This is just a more philosophical strategy, but kind of starting by this vocal. And now the rest of the mix will be able to be built around this thing.
Yeah, I think it's a personal thing because I'm not as good as I'd like to be. That if I start with the drums and because I mostly do a lot of mastering, so like I'm used to getting the level up and making things sound full. If I do that to just my drums, then I've basically made a really great mix of some drums. But like the rest of the song doesn't really like coexist with it.
Yeah, there's no room for it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So to try and sort of keep myself from doing that, I found that if I just have a few things for musical context and just try and get a vocal that's got, some of the stuff I don't like taken out of it and, up there, then at least I'm going to give myself that point to come up to, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So what we'll do is we'll just get some reverb on it. I'll try and move relatively quickly. So I'll click on the send here. And this is what's cool. We're looking at this with Connor. You can create a bus right here. So I'm going to make one with Neve summing on it. Why not? We're mixing. We want the best we can get. Let's have everything hit Neve. And so I'm just going to call this Vox Verb. And that will be named and put straight into the session right after it.
Well, and I know, so that one of the big things I know a lot of people, I guess, didn't quite pick up from the NAMM demos and from what we're doing is, so Luna itself is free. Oxide comes free, Shape comes free. But then there's some premium extensions like the Neve Summing that you're bringing up here. So just like all the rest of our Neve plugins, we put so much time, effort, energy, and obviously we work alongside with Neve to create these. These are premium plugins, just like the 1073 or the 33609. And same thing goes for the Studer tape. Those are premium extensions that take what's built into Luna and just take it even further. So yeah, just want to make sure everyone's like very clear about that stuff, that there is an amazing amount of free content, but then there's also premium content, which, to be honest, the best way to get it is that there's that Luna creator bundle that gives you like Neve, Studer, Revel, and Minimoog all together.
Yeah, and you can go to your Discover page here and check all these extensions out and read more about them and all that sort of stuff. That's the creator bundle that Ben just mentioned here, which already seems to be on a good deal.
Well, so actually, it's funny you point that out, Tom, because so the reason why you're seeing that discount price is because you already have a Studer license, which brings up a good point. So anyone that already owns Studer, they get the Studer Luna extension for free. And then obviously a discount on the bundle since you already own part of that bundle. So yeah, I definitely saw a few. I was watching some review videos in all my spare time. I noticed a few of them, they had like the activate license button just sitting there waiting for them. So if you already own Studer, just hit that button and you're going to automatically get the Studer extension. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's such a cool thing. I love it. Wicked. So, I mean, what I've done now is just we've created a bus. So by, clicking on the assign send dialog and adding this little plus for routing, we automatically made that bus and I labeled it Voxverb. What I love as well is that you don't have to create a bus and then assign its input. As long as you've labeled your bus, it is available in this text-based routing pane.
Oh, I love it.
So you just route really quickly. So I'm obviously going to use a lot of UAD plugins that are our sort of premium library plugins, but this is about sort of mixing and sound quality in Luna. So I'm going to bring in this EMT250 reverb quickly.
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape.
I can roll with that with a bit more pre-delay. That would be cool.
Yep.
So one thing I actually like doing, and just to show creating a bus is a different way, if we hold down Shift Command B, I can make a couple buses like straight away. I just want one more. I often do a Vox wide just to sort of thicken up the vocals. And I'm a bit of a sucker for either the Studio D chorus or a flanger. But for now, I'll go with this Studio D chorus, I think. So I quite like that setting. So what it is like an analog chorus without any real settings. It just gives you that width. And so what I'll do is just send into this here.
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me. I just wanna be close to you.
It's a sticker.
Yeah.
And do all the things you want me to.
Vocal could do with a little warmth. Now we've sort of cut some of those lower mid resonances. I've lost a bit of the body of like Meg's vocal, so like that's a good way of adding it back. Sometimes I'll also do a parallel where I'll have maybe like a 610 preamp overdriven and blend it in. But I think because she's already quite edgy, we'll forego those tricks.
And
now,
real quick, Tom, just you want to open up your output panel. So one thing to know when you do the Command Shift B, whatever tracks you have selected, when you hit Command Shift B, will automatically be added to that group.
That's that.
Yeah, so your Voxverb ended up sending into your wide, which actually could be kind of a cool effect to chain together reverb into the chorus. But I figured since you set up it as a send. But that's a great shortcut. So like say with the drums, you just select all the drum tracks, Command Shift B, make a drum subgroup, and you're good to go.
Oh, great. Yeah, of course. Oh, that explains why I've been having to reroute stuff all the time. Thank you. Amazing. Well, so actually, that sounded great, though. So what I might do, instead of giving myself the hard routing, I might actually just send the reverb into that wide anyway, because that sounded good.
Hear,
Yep.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway.
I like that. That's actually thickening the reverb too, which is great.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing I like to do, obviously, on buses is solo safe up. Just so that if I solo the vocal, they'll always be there. But I know that it technically sort of happens anyway in the way that our routing works. But let's just expand this out so we can see the UIs. We showed this for the American guys, but anyone who wasn't watching in Europe who might have been up too late, you can actually do this. Whoa, let's get to it. Where's the menu, Ben,
Yep,
for
right there.
create plugin custom icon, you can now
Yes.
have an icon for the FabFilter de-esser right there in my channel strip, so I can see everything. It's so awesome.
That was one I learned just yesterday too. I've been using this stuff for over 6 months, and I just learned that you can make your own custom icons. It's amazing.
Likewise, we're all discovering stuff. I think because obviously we're sort of been so busy getting ready for launch as well that everyone's just like sharing their tips and tricks, and it's suddenly just magnifying into this huge snowball of info. It's really cool.
I feel, I imagine there's some people out there who are watching. This isn't their first office hours, but for me, this is my 7th. I've learned so many things in every one of these office hours that, it's really fun to kind of discover new things. And this is why we're bringing in more and more guests to be able to just all share ideas and knowledge and experience using Luna.
Absolutely. So there's another thing I thought I could show, which is one of my favorite features in Luna, which is the pitch on the clip. So here we can have, for example, like the ability to adjust the pitch in semitones, or underneath that into smaller values, just by typing in a value here. Or if you double click on the header for the track, then you've actually got a pitch dial here, which you can then adjust, in fine pitch increments really easily and reset. And I use this for mixing stacks. So what I've done is I've duplicated the lead vocal track, and actually, just to show how quick this is going to be, we'll just chuck on that surgical EQ into these two as well, and the de-esser, because I don't want these to be super edgy, but I won't bother compressing them yet. I will end up putting them into a bus, I think. But just for the last chorus of the track, I thought we could show almost like a micro pitch shift type function for making the vocal even wider. So I'll just play these on their own, and you should hear something really interesting going on.
So close now, so close now. Hey.
So they're just pitched up and down on both sides. So this one's panned left, and we can make it a bit more extreme maybe. Let's go down here. This is going to be really interesting. And then this one I'll go up a bit. Obviously I'll back them off a bit, but just so you can hear where we're going with it.
It's about to be some craziness right here.
Yeah.
So close now, so close now.
It's madness.
So this is one of those tricks where the 0.0 up to like what 0.1 or 0.13 maybe is usually
push.
Yeah, right. Because it starts becoming really obvious. But yeah, you do get that, like, again, what we're doing. A lot of these tricks that you're showing are great stereo image tricks that allow you to keep your mix focused on the middle with your lead vocal, with your drums and your bass, and keep that center image really intact. But then dressing up what's happening on the sides and giving that width and kind of immersion into the mix.
Yeah. So actually, because those two tracks now are selected, let's do the Shift Command B. Now that Ben's taught me how to properly use it, and I'll call this wide vox or something like that, or whatever, pitch vox, and that's a bus. And I'll do my usual solo safe. And so now this will be going into the Neve as well.
So close now, so close now. Hey. Whoa, 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 yeah.
Actually,
so I'm curious on the solo safe. It's here in Luna, but Tom, I think actually for what you're typically trying to do, the solos in Luna are actually super smart. So if you,
it's true.
Exactly. So regardless of if you solo the individual tracks or you solo a bus, Luna automatically solos what it needs to make that happen.
So close now, so close.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, this is me being habitual more than
I'm so used
like,
to that
I
from
know
Pro
that,
Tools.
Yeah, I know that I don't need to, but I'm still like, it's not done until I've done this. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It has all of that intelligence to know that if something's soloed and it's into a group, the group opens for you and all that sort of stuff, right?
Well, and even sends too. Like if you were to solo your Vox verb, you would hear the vocal verb, but you would also hear the track feeding into it to make that happen as well.
So it's like, it's in a way, it's like it partners with somewhat of the way the spill's working in like a back bus interrogation kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it's
really
that's
cool.
kind of it kind of goes again with the whole concept of how we wanted Luna to feel instant and immediate, and lots of other DAWs, it's, especially one of them, solos can be, you solo this track, this is all you get soloed, and if you don't solo safe your stuff further down the line, you're screwed. Here we're like, if you solo a single track, you probably want to hear it, so let me solo safe all the things that need to come along with it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, that's cool. So what we'll do is now that I've put it back on polyphonic, you should hear the width of this thing, and I'll just blend
So
it in.
close now, so close now. Hey.
So we'll come back with the main vocal in as well.
So close now, so close now. Hey. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah.
So I might actually compress that really hard as well, to be honest, just to keep it sort of buried but dense. So I'm a big fan of this one for being fat sounding.
So close now, so close now. Hey. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah.
Sounds a bit artificial right now, but with all the drums and everything in, I think that'll work pretty well. So what's cool is we've also got just the Neve happening on there and on the reverbs and stuff. So if I just try taking those off, just because, you know, people are going to obviously try this on a drum group, they're going to try it on your mix bus, but just the difference it makes to your effects returns alone is killer. So if we have a listen to this just on the vocals there.
So close now, so close now. Hey. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah.
It's like another dimension of 3D life, right?
It really is. And I mean, the thing I've been really digging about using it too is you can pick and choose, right? You can say like, great, for things that need that little extra push or need that little extra added life and dimension, man, you have it available right there. But you end up learning like, great, you don't need tape on absolutely every track for some mixes, or you don't need Neve on every one of the buses. So you start becoming pickier and pickier and more refined with your sonic choices like that. But by default, it adds so much life to the sound.
Big time, yeah. I'm finding that with tape too. Like some sounds like kick drums that are already really fat, you know, it can be a bit too much. And obviously you used to just want it on like softening your cymbals and your snares and fattening things up, but sometimes the kick could get a little smaller. And the nice thing is you could do all your drums to tape, which I might do in this in a second, then not the kick. And it's like just being able to free yourself when you want from it, which you couldn't do with a tape machine is awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly get these. There's a vocal harmony and another BV part, which I'll just quickly get in there. And I know because we had the same, it's a different mic, but same room. I think we can probably try and see if that EQ helps.
No escape from me, I just wanna be close to you.
And the reverb too. Let's just go there.
And do all the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you and show you the way I feel.
So that one I will hit tape again. I think that's working really well.
Yeah. Well, and also
vocal.
something to point out that that you did intuitively there as well is for that Cambridge plugin, you can just option, click, and drag inserts from one to the other. So you can quickly kind of set up on one channel and then just bring those settings over to other channels. Just option, click, drag. But there's also kind of the modifiers over on the left hand side are also a way that you can get to that too, where it's the exact same effect. Yep.
Yeah, and once you've finished pasting that one plugin, be aware as well that you have to pick up one and paste it. You don't just pick up one, paste it, and it cancels itself out. So if you then try and pick up, say for example, something that I found myself doing, just picking this up and then I want to copy the LA2A and realize I've just replaced that with the Cambridge because I'm still in paste mode from that one.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing with Luna is that you can
just undo
on insert loading, which, you know, is magical because it just saves you from those little moments, you know. Cool. So I'm just going to compress that a bit. That goes well into the reverb. I just made that a bit more wet, so it's kind of a bit wetter, I should say. So it's behind the lead vocal. Probably the same thing with the BV. I might create one vocal bounce delay, and then we'll move on real quick.
No escape from me, I just wanna be close to you and do all the things you want me to. I just wanna.
That one sort of feels bright to me, so I'm going to copy this in as well. Although it's a really
No
bright
escape
mic.
from me, I just wanna be close to you
It's a BV. I don't mind if it's DS to hell.
and do all the things you want me to.
To push it further away, that's fine. So there's just one final BV, which is actually everyone singing together for a main point in the track.
Are you in there too?
Yeah, show me the way I feel. I just wanna be close to you.
That definitely needs to be big. I don't know if it needs to be wet. I think so. Into
But
the wide.
it definitely is.
Yeah, show me the way I feel. I just wanna
chorus is magical at just going, oh, those BVs need to be bigger.
Exactly.
There it goes.
It's perfect.
And then maybe final thing for that would be, I think compression. I'm a big fan of the 33609 on vocals for stuff like this because the gain is so warm. Like when you add makeup gain to it, it's so round. Actually, let's just get a little closer to it for a minute because I don't want to waste too much time on pre-rolling.
I was like, yeah, Tom, once you're done with these vocals, you have less than 20 minutes to mix the rest of the song.
That's easy. Vocals always take the longest. This is the 80-20 rule, and it's almost working in perfection.
It
right now,
really
isn't
is,
it?
yeah.
What's going on, Neve? That should be squashing pretty hard.
Oh, it's turned off.
I think your power button's off. Yeah.
Oh, spot, bro. That'll be a trackpad fail.
There it is.
These laptops, honestly, I do it all the time. It's loud, but it sounds big, which is what I wanted. Okay, I'm good with that. There's some big vocals happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on. Let's quickly get in some piano stuff going on
Wanted to
here.
hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope
Piano,
on
let's
love's
go
highway.
Studer.
Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escaping me. I just wanna be close to
I'm
you
also a fan of this on
and do all the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you and show you the way I feel. I feel love when I'm lying in the midnight hour.
maybe we'll go in with actually I'm gonna make a keys bus for these guys, I think. and get them into the Neve because that's where things come to life, right? So the Wurlitz are in those two. They should have gone in already with our little trick there of selecting the tracks and creating Shift Command B. Beautiful.
Wanted to hear, spinning
on there
around
too,
like a
I
wheel
think.
on fire, walking the
That
tightrope
needed
on
more low
love's
end on it, I
highway.
think, so I'm a fan
Fatal
of-
attraction is where I'm at. There's no
This
escaping
for that.
me. I just wanna be close to you and do all the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you
Just gonna pull the lead vocal back a
and
bit here.
show you the way I feel. I feel love when I'm lying in the midnight hour, holding you just like a dream. Love is never what it seems when we
Maybe some
touch.
sparkle on that piano thing.
And you're holding me the way you feel. Boy, you make my dreams come true. You make my dreams come true. I just wanna be close to you. Yeah, and do all the
We just sort of wrap the lower mids around the vocal a bit with the piano and the keys there. They're supporting elements. So let's go and have a little listen to this bass on its own for a sec. Oxide. I'm a big fan sometimes of not pushing the saturation, but just letting tape do a mild thing. I'm sure you feel the same, Ben, but with it off. Thickened out like a compressor, but the lower mids, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you get the low end love of it, but you're not adding harmonics. You're not adding any sort of crunch or crispness to it because it's
So
already
maybe
got
we
enough of that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We could maybe try and make it a bit more like woody sounding, and this is a great EQ, the Helios, for this, you know. And again, you see how second nature it's become for me to search by typing.
Yep.
I already know before I'm going to make the patch like what plugin I want to use, so I already am hovering over HEL, ready to like start typing Helios, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of gain on this is a good thing, you know. And
It's always a good place.
I like the fact that you can even add resonant frequencies you'd think you couldn't, and it just sounds good on this.
It's one of those really great plugins for mixing with your ears and not your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So off. It's huge and fat, but that would be great with the piano when we bring these together here. So often, same trick on the vocal, but I always like the Studio D on bass too. So again, you see how easy it is to create a bus here. We'll call it bass wide. It's right there. My habit is this for buses, so I'm sorry. I'm going to. So you're saying
strict color code.
Strict
color
exactly.
coding.
Dude, if I don't do that, it's the same with solo safe. If I don't press it, it's not done. But I actually need to let go of this, as you've explained. So same thing on the bass, like the width thing you can get with this. And sometimes I like just the shift clicking, so you can assign multiple there's different sort of chorus presets, but you can combine them like the all buttons on the 1176. And that's great.
Wait
random.
a second. Are you serious? I've used this plugin for years, and I didn't know you could shift click.
Yes, bro. So same on the original hardware. So if you had, there's like 4 chorus presets, and I think they get more severe as you go along, but don't quote me. And then you can shift click them in and get random chorus effects. And I'm a big fan of that sometimes. I often find I'm using 2 or 4, but sometimes combining them is great. So let's have a quick listen. Just get the pianos out for a sec. Let's be obvious. So you see 2 is like really thick and super wide, but when you start combining them, actually that all of them in is quite good because it keeps the middle of the image, the bass still really present. That's way more like washy to me, left right. It's a bit left right, whereas this is left center right. There's still a middle, so I'm going to do that on headphones anyway.
Yeah, it's rad.
Back it off a bit. Yeah, so that's a cool thing.
Like a dream, love is never what it seems when we touch and you're holding me the way you feel.
So once we're in the track, I'm like, yeah, actually I want more wetness on the vocal, but
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway.
I think we'll make one bus for the vocal here, so I'm going to do it this way, seeing as though it's not. This is more the correct way, right? Shift Command N and make a bus, or do it via the send routing panel, whereas the B shortcut I'm now going to use for just when I want to take my drums to a group. That's the thing.
Yep.
So we'll do one here, Vox delay, and we'll get in here. I'm such a huge fan of the Korg SDD. I'm sure you are too. The tempo syncing, and then in the true stereo mode, whoosh, this thing.
That's my one. I'm it's either 2 or 5 for me on that one.
Okay, yeah. So if anyone didn't know this either, if you click on the number, then you actually see what those routing modes are. So you don't have to kind of constantly go back to the manual and remember. Which I always, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's great. Why didn't I find that earlier?
Tom, you're just dropping nuggets on me, man. I didn't know this one either.
Me neither. That's a great one.
Yeah. It's like, what is mode 4 again? I don't remember. Oh, wait, no, it's this one where you've got basically dry on the right side and the effect on the left.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude, this is... I was expecting to learn a few things, but damn, I'm learning every move you make.
We're getting into it.
Oh, I love it, bro.
Yeah, man, it's fun. I love all this stuff. I mean, what UA have made with all these plugins. I mean, all of us have been using them for a long time. I think I started nearly 20 years ago on UAD 1, but you learn stuff every day. This is an audio. I've always joked to people, it's like an audio museum in a way. Like you can walk in and just be like, oh, I want to try this from 40 years ago, and it's there. Yeah. And now that all runs in Luna, and you can. I mean, I love just looking across my session, and I can see the Korg, I can see the 250. It's more like I'm turning around to my rack behind me, and I look at my gear, or I reach out here, and I know that that's this particular compressor. That's how it feels in Luna, and that to me is huge. Like something that is really unique. The visual experience of being in it is creative, you know.
Oh yeah.
So I'll just bring up the vocal with a little delay on it, and then we'll move on. I think get some drums pumping through the Neve, and we're almost there, right?
Yep.
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escaping me. I just wanna be close to you.
Push it a bit more.
Wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escaping me. I just wanna be close to you.
I think I'm a fan of.
And do all the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you.
I think I'm a fan of that. Dotted 16ths, just lower in the mix here.
Love it.
Wanted to hear,
I'm doing
spinning
it, sorry.
around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway.
'cause these two are done,
Fatal
like, OCD
attraction
kicking
is
in,
where
so
I'm at. There's no escaping me. I just wanna be
That's cool. It
close.
just helps it bounce along a little bit. So that's great.
So
So
Tom,
then,
you've now left yourself 10 minutes to do the rest of the mix. What do you do? How do you?
This is easy because everything's done apart from drums now, pretty much. Ish. So, like, I mean, one major thing is we're going to get these drums into a couple of buses, and I'm going to do more work on the bus drums than the individuals, just to keep it moving quickly because it's a speed mix.
Yep.
So, because we've
But-
selected all those drum tracks,
Mhm.
I can do this and create a bus.
Command Shift B, make a bus.
Command-Shift-B. And
And
I
if
guess
you-
I can do it again
Mm-hmm.
because I want to do it again.
Well, it's gonna overwrite the outputs now. So now all of your outputs are going down to bus 1. There is.
Okay.
So do you know how to do the multiple outputs?
Yeah. Well, so this is what one of the things that I really liked in a couple of ways. Not only can you do it here, right? You select, say, we've got all our drum tracks selected, and then we click here, and that's going to select in blue these routing boxes for all my drums. So I could send them to bus 1 here. So I'm going to label this drums group just so we can see where we're going, and then this drums P, because that's going to be a parallel bus, just because I know what I want to do. Pretty much. So, and then you can shift click here and go to multiples, and you'll see it says multiple there. And now we've got all my drum tracks going into this bus and into the second bus, all without having to do some shortcut to plus route, and all this sort of stuff.
Shift.
the thing that-
shift click. Yep. So bus and then shift to another bus. And I think the session that we're gonna pull up later today with Vance, he did a similar trick, and he ended up with the drums going to 3 different buses to be able to get what he wanted.
Yeah, it's such a nice thing. And you know what blew my mind, Ben? And I don't know whether you saw this one, but on Ascend you can do it. So like, say for example, I quite often when I'm mixing have my kick and my snares go to a couple of parallel buses just for the middle of the image to come through, with more energy on those two things.
Yep.
The fact that you could go onto say kick snare here, and not only can I create a mono bus and call it kick and snare parallel, for example, KNSP is what I often call it. But then you could also route that send into the buses as well, multiple. So like you have, although you've got 8 sends here, the fact that I can have one master level going to I could have a vocal send hitting 2 reverbs just from the same fader if you just want to blend them without having to have separate control. I love that. It's
That's
magnified
so
the power
rad.
of the. Yeah, and it blew my mind because I just found the bus routing one and was like, that's obvious. But the send one took me a while to find, and just like, why don't you try it there? The same list is here. Just shift click everything.
And then, dude, all right. This is one of my favorite sessions yet, dude. I've learned so many new things.
Awesome, dude. Cool. So we'll actually just quickly get these buses going. What I'm going to do, so I actually printed a drum parallel and a kick snare mono in. I'm going to just mute those and we'll remake them in the mix. So that's it, really. We've got Neve on all of them, which obviously we'll be able to A/B. I know the low impedance is fattest, so I'm going to be a bit of a. I'll probably do this actually, and let's just get the drums up, and I will mute the EMT that's real on there as well, so we can get our own reverb going. Whoa.
And so now what you could do is you could, on the drum sub, if you soloed that, you would automatically solo all those drum tracks as well. And I believe it'll also let your parallels happen. But let's double check my math. Nope,
Yeah, then you can bring them in if you want, right?
Exactly. So especially since you're
it's saving all the hassle of having to go back and solo all those drum tracks, right?
exactly.
And that's also an interesting point, because now I'm not soloing safe. We don't need to solo safe intelligently. I can go back and undo all those things that I've
You're like, yeah,
habitually been used to doing.
It's like, what are those ghosts in the background? Oh yeah, those, because it is a new paradigm for solo safing. Yeah, if you have a solo safe something, that means that when you solo your drums, you're going to hear your vocal reverbs, which maybe you want, but more often than not, you're going to want to not have to go in solo safe to accomplish most of the goals that you're looking for.
Yeah, you know what? It's actually saving me doing a whole step here. I just need to get over it, basically.
Training Tom to not solo safe, OCD solo safe.
Yeah, dude, that's terrible. But it's really great to know. You know, it's like it's part of why we're doing these whole videos, is so we all learn stuff as well, right? We're all in this together. Like just sat at home trying Luna. You know, it's great. So here we go. These are drums without these parallels on the drum group. So I know one thing, which is I want to flip the phase of this mono overhead quickly. So you see how, because I've selected multiple tracks and I've got this blue box around it, we're in like group mode. So I'm effectively doing selective grouping. If we press Command G, I can come out of that. And that way then I can quickly, while still leaving my group in the background, come down here and just add a plugin for this. So I'm going to bring up this one and just flip the phase, and it should just get a little punchier on the kick and the snare there. But then here on the bus, let's just a nice high impedance Neve. Just adds a little punch to the kick drum and some life. I'll bring in a very gentle compression thing going on here with the API, I think. Say gentle comes up absolutely spanked. But,
2500 never comes up gentle.
I know, making it gentle is a mish, but you can get there.
I've got my own default setting to make it nice and calm.
Yeah, the one thing I do love on this is the auto makeup gain. So it comes up in manual where you can adjust the makeup gain, but with a compressor that's auto makeup gain, it will actually estimate the amount of compression and then apply its own makeup. But obviously the estimations are not always that good, so you end up with more punch that way because it's sort of like under or over reads. So that's just a nice tight pocketed sort of compression going on with the drums there.
Oh, that sounds great.
And then my parallel, which I'll bring in next to it, we're going to just crank this Neve here. Now, you can actually help me with this. On the headroom control, is it more headroom, less headroom, or the other way around? What do people need to know about that?
So yeah, so basically what Headroom is doing is it's giving you this gain compensated. It's the way I think about it is it's kind of this gain compensated saturation knob in a way. So as you lower your headroom, which I believe is turning it to the right, you're going to get more and more Neve sauce, a little more of the grain, more push into the circuitry, which just gives you more saturation, more thickness, more kind of crunch together. And then as you lessen it, you're lessening the amount that you're driving into the circuit. But it's nice that it does it all in a gain compensated way. So you're not, it's not like you have to turn the headroom down and then turn the trim all the way back up. The headroom gives you this single control that allows you to decide how much saturation you really want.
That's cool. So if we just listen to the parallel here, which, I'm just going to put it from high impedance, let's put it all the way up. You see how fat that is on low impedance already, and if we crank this up, we're actually getting more of this Neve crunch without.
Yep.
So I like that because it sort of makes the snare sound more of like a gunshot thing.
And it takes some of the low end out of the kick, so it's just like the point and the like kind of the skin of the kick drum without the fat.
And then just because we're going to go for it quickly, let's just give it some spankaroo with this thing.
There it is.
So I always like find the pop with the attack control once it's in a bit, Like that gets rid of all the transient, which actually I might want because it's the parallel. I just don't want it to like affect the drums that are cleaner.
But do you hear what it's doing to the hi-hat there? Like as you move the attack knob, it's like a hi-hat disappearing act.
Yeah, it gets shorter and shorter.
It does, and I love that. The fact that like 1 millisecond just buries the front of the snare as well. But we can with the filter, just let the kick through a bit still.
Yep.
So then we'll blend that in with this drum. Just super hard sounding, which is great. That cut through the track pretty well. Actually, I'm not actually gonna compress the kick snare one. I'm just gonna add a bunch of low end to it.
This is surprisingly the best drum mixing tip that anyone needs to hear is that uncompressed drums sound better than compressed drums sometimes, especially if you want transients and punch and you want like you want them to cut through. You got to work it. It's not just one or the other. It's not go completely uncompressed, but you have to manage where you're using compression and use it as a blending mode rather than like as all of your drums just constantly being compressed.
So I've got the kick and the snare, and then a little bit of the mono overhead, which was trying to remember what the mic was. I think it was on this track, I think it's a Ball and Biscuit, the old Coles really trashy thing. And then the overheads are a pair of Coles ribbons. But I'm just gonna, because I think it's actually quite a if you listen to it, quite a gnarly mid-range sound, but in with the kick and snare. And then this mono parallel is just all low end from the kick drum. So I'm cheating really. Instead of EQing the kick, I'm just bringing the kicks and snares into that Pultec. So we take off, that's our drum bus. We've got a little API on here, which we can disable. And the Neve off. Neve on, API on, parallel in, uncompressed parallel for all of the knock in the world. Probably drop these all a little bit together, and then we'll just hit the track from the top and see what else needs to be done. And then maybe I can blend in the plate just in a case of time, but we would easily just send off any of these drum tracks to create a reverb. And these two tracks that I'm not going to use, we can just bring up our final point here in the view panel, the tracks pane, and hide those two, and we're done. That's not going to be used right now. I actually will just very quickly bring in this reverb, but you can use a UA or any type of unit plugin.
And Tom, you just showed off another cool trick: the click and drag on stands or on solos.
Solos, yeah.
Yeah, right. So
such a good one.
So fast. Yeah, especially when you're laptop mixing like I am now, or trackpad mixing. It's just so swipey swipe. Yeah, you take
that one works for mute.
You start
too.
taking it for granted. Yeah, right. Okay, and it works for record enable as well, I think.
Yep.
So
if
you
you
can just any of these buttons, you can.
Yep. Exactly.
Wicked. So just get this plate in there a little bit. Actually, it might be quite fun because it's going to both buses. Take that one out of my parallel because I don't want to get the reverb getting smashed by that SSL compressor. A bit more natural when it's not getting completely crushed.
Yeah,
So that's a good demo, I think, of like the routing without doing any crazy processing. But the one final thing, just as the the trick here, because we said about tape, is just whack the Studer across all those drums real quick. I need to be in my grouping. Do it.
Command G.
Here we go as it loads up. And you can hear it sounds so punchy, and it's great on so many of these other tracks. And now that it's grouped, all of my saturation levels, which surprisingly I remembered from when I had the Studer on here before, but you can adjust the saturation push on all the drums, just grouping everything with that Command G. What's so cool is, hit the high. What's so cool with this, the kick, I think, losing some low end here, so we'll
just take that one out.
It's actually getting some head bump. I actually like it on right now. Yeah, that's cool. I think we're there. So we've got tape, flip the phase, no EQ on the drums. Did it all on the buses without much EQ, but they didn't need a lot.
Yeah.
Helios EQ in the bass with some wide, tape across a few things, and compression and reverb on the vocals. And I think I can do an A/B of the whole thing real quick. Track top. I know there's guitar solo in here, but it should come up pretty fine. So all tape off, all Neves off. Holding options.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet dream. Tell him he knew what I wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me. I just wanna be close to you.
actually. That's punchy.
Dude, that sounds
Tom,
great. That sounds really great. And something I've seen come up a couple times in the chat and other people's comments is it's important to know that the Neve summing and the built-in tape extensions, those are native processes. So those actually don't require any of your DSP usage. So you can use UAD plugins as inserts. Those will be, obviously drawing from the DSP like you would want them to. But since tape and Neve is built into the mixing engine of Luna, that's actually happening natively. So it doesn't take away from your DSP power. And then the other thing I'd love you to show real quick, Tom, I saw some people asking in the chat, wondering how they activate the Neve and Studer, either their licenses or the demos for them. So for anyone that's wondering, you hit that diamond, go to your manage page, and then where where it says install right there, you'd see a blue button, kind of like what he has for the Spitfire ones, that would say activate license or start demo right here in the manage page. So that if you guys are watching this and wanting to dig in there and try some of the stuff that Tom just showed us, go to your manage page. This is where you can enable those. And then one other thing that I did notice in some people's videos online was, as you'll notice in that manage page, there's shape, and then below shape there's shape expansion. Sorry. Make sure that you download the shape expansion. Is free. That's even more sounds, more content, and more parts for you guys to play with inside of shape. It's just a bonus download that you get immediately. But it doesn't download automatically. So you're going to want to come to this manage page and again hit the blue button that says download to make sure you're getting all the good stuff inside of Luna installed right from the get-go.
It's like 5 gigs and the main library's 3. So you combine them together, that's 8 gig library of sounds.
It's a lot.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
Great.
Well,
Thanks so much, guys.
dude, Tom, this
Learned
was
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, dude, we all just learned so much stuff. I know that people in the chat have been having a good time following along and learn just how easy and fun the mix workflow is in here. And like I said, man, I just learned a bunch of really cool stuff in the session as well. So I'm sure.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for explaining that bus feature. That's been winding me up because I was like, have I been messing up with my routing? I've just not been using the thing properly.
Yeah, well, that's a great thing, man. So we're, like I said, we're trying to make these office hours and make them about an hour, so that way you guys have a chance to walk away from the session with new ideas and things to try inside of Luna. But then don't worry, we're going to be back. We're going to be back in just a little bit less than 2 hours with more of a Q&A, kind of a tech-focused office hour. We've got tons of questions banked up here from you guys. So if we didn't get to your question right now, tune back in just about 2 hours and we'll try to hit them then. But then for the rest of the day at 1 o'clock, so that's like 4 hours from now, we're going to have Vance Powell and Dave Cobb coming in from Nashville. Not physically, we're staying virtual, keeping our distance, but we're going to be looking at a Rival Sun session that really highlights some of the cool stuff that you can do with Neve, as well as a lot of Vance's fun mixing tricks that I'm sure you guys are going to be fascinated to see. And then later this afternoon at 4 p.m. PST, Dave LeBolt's coming on, and we're going to be taking an even deeper tour into the Luna instruments. So yeah, we're going to be here all day, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we'll see you again here soon. See you guys later. Easy.